The Olympus Om-2s program was just a variation of the more famous Olympus Om-2, but it has some great features that a lot of people overlook just because inside of the name it has program. Now, this camera right here is one of the best cameras that I've ever shot, and I'm gonna say this truthfully and honestly, it goes up there with the Nikon F3, my Canon A1, and most importantly, my Minolta X700. For those of you guys who shot an Olympus before, you guys already know about the shutter speed and aperture placement on the camera. But for the folks who've never shot an Olympus before, the aperture ring is at the very front of the lens, and the shutter speed selection is right on the mounting plate for the lens. Now, the dial where they usually on most cameras put the shutter speed selection, it's actually an exposure compensation dial, which is an absolutely wonderful thing because now we have a camera with excellent ergonomics and it makes sense. You change your aperture at the front of the lens as well as your shutter speed because you necessarily don't really touch that as much. And then when you need to use your exposure compensation, it's readily available right here. And I really don't understand why a lot of companies slept on this design back then because in my opinion, this design is more useful than the cameras that have the exposure compensation on the left side where you kind of have to look down again and chimp it out. Opposed to this, the exposure compensation is right here ready for you to use right away. Now, the Olympus Om-2s program has a total of 3 different modes. You have, of course, the program mode, which will allow you to shoot full auto. And so you set the aperture to f/16, and then you let the camera do the rest of the work. And then you have auto mode. Auto mode is basically just an aperture priority mode. And so all you do here is you select the aperture at the front of the lens. The camera will compensate for the shutter speed. And if you look inside of the viewfinder, which I'll get to later, if you're over or underexposed, the camera will make an audible beep, just like that, to let you know if you're over or underexposed. And last but not least, the Olympus Om-2s provides spot metering in manual mode. So you have a fully manual spot metering mode where the meter inside of the viewfinder, once again, I will show you later, will allow you to check inside of there to see if you're in the right range. Oh, I love that this camera features Aperture Priority. You guys know I'm a big fan of Aperture Priority, and you know, when I can shoot it, it takes away one less thing to worry about, and I do shoot it there. So that's a big plus for this camera, the Aperture Priority mode on it. Now, I think the reason why I really enjoy this camera is because of how simple and easy it is to use. You have Aperture Priority, you have program mode when you need it, and you also have manual spot metering. The camera does take 2 batteries, which I will leave in the description down below. But yes, unfortunately, you do need batteries in here in order for the camera to operate. Otherwise, the shutter will not fire. It's not a mechanical camera, it's not a manual camera. But overall, this is a solid performer. It's wrapped in an all black metal body, and what's beautiful about it is the paint. The paint is matte black, and not a lot of cameras from this time and day never really had a matte black finish to their cameras, and so Olympus came out with this thing, and to this day, it still puts me away. Overall, the Olympus Om-2s program is a solid performer, and I definitely 100% recommend you guys checking this out. There are a couple things that I don't really like about the camera. They're not really big issues, but I'm gonna go ahead and cover those for you really quick, just so you guys can get an understanding of truly what this camera is about. The first thing that I don't like about this camera is the sound of the shutter. It sounds ugly, and let me just let you guys hear it for yourself. As you guys hear there, it kind of sounds like there's something like damaged inside. And the reason for that is there's a secondary mirror right under the original mirror that allows it to, I guess, flap. I don't really know the exact purpose for it, but there's a secondary mirror under that. And so that's what makes that clutter sound. So if you guys are really into, you know, clunky, nice shutter sounds, this camera might not be for you. And that brings me to my second point, the film advance lever. The film advance lever, it feels, you know, it has some type of tension to it, but there's only tension up to maybe here, and then it just dies out on you. So when it comes back, it feels really cheap, it feels really plasticky, but that's not a big issue for me. You know, other than that, those are the only 2 things that I found that really have bugged me, just the shutter sound and the mechanism, the film advance mechanism. So here's a look at the viewfinder. It's nice and big. If you guys see there on the left side, that is where the shutter speed display will show, and also if you are under or overexposed. So as you guys see, that thing will go up and down to tell you if you are over or underexposed. So let me go ahead and change that aperture really quick just to show you guys that it does change with it. The Om-2s program has an awesome viewfinder, definitely one of the best I've seen from the Olympus OM series. Do I recommend the Olympus Om-2s program? Simple answer is yes, absolutely. It's a solid camera, it's super small, it's compact, has nice black matte finish, program mode, has aperture priority, and it also has manual. The viewfinder is nice and big, it's ergonomic friendly, and overall it's a solid shooter, and it feels really reliable so far, and I've been shooting it for about maybe a month and 2 months now. Now you can pick the Olympus Om-2s program up off of eBay for under $100, even with a lens on it. And so it makes a cheap, reliable option in such a small, amazing, and aesthetic package. So I highly, highly recommend you guys check out the Olympus Om-2s program. Don't let the program in the name scare you away. It's an awesome camera. All right, you guys, so that's gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching another episode here on King Japes. As always, it's been a pleasure to make another video for you guys, and we are gonna have an amazing and great 2018. So once again, thank you for tuning in. As always, Minolta Gang.